So the topic today is the success and failure rituals. So we will work through the presentation. Can you see that?
No.
Okay, let's try that again. Can you see that?
No.
Interesting. Make sure I hit the right share. Okay,
Now I,
now you
now
can
I
see
can
it.
see it. Yep.
There we go. There we go. Okay, we'll go to the slideshow, making sure it's on the right screen. So we can see our homepage, right? Or dialed in with Jeff Learn.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay, so welcome back. We'll have a good chat on our success and failure rituals. That'll be our focus today. So the purpose today is with all these calls is finding ways to have this mentally dialed in and engaged mindset, and especially through times that are the highest of highs, and then when things are struggling, when kind of the rubber meets the road, when you don't quite feel like yourself, you're not playing like yourself. Okay, so we're gonna have some interactivity together on you identifying what you currently do, and then we'll close the talk, and you might have some more thoughts on what you can improve upon in each manner.
Uh,
So everyone here kind of knows, or obviously dialed in. What does that mean? And it's really just how do you reach your peak? Like how are you at your peak, firing on all cylinders? That's dialed in, right? What are the things you're going to do to be playing at your absolute peak is really what that terminology means. So the way we get to that point, you can see on our core philosophy, is by believing in yourself. If you believe in yourself in certain avenues, you're going to be confident in the way you operate. And a lot of that comes from just consistency and performance, which what we're going to talk about today. What are the things that are leading into the consistency of performance? In this one here, that keyword stability. Like any coach, if you ask them, they want to know what they're getting out of their goalie on a consistent basis. So most coaches would prefer kind of this A to A minus caliber goalie that they know is always an A to A minus, as opposed to one guy who's always an A plus plus, except when he's a C minus and D, and you never know which story you're going to get out of him. So that stability and consistency is really what ends up being the avenue to true success. So a lot of that comes from, we'll use the word rituals, but really that means like what are the things you're doing consistently when times are good and when times are bad, and especially when times are bad. So having that same mindset, you see our comprehensive approach. It's got to have the same mindset after failure as you do with success. So the old phrase, control what you can control. So our activity now, I'll give you 60 seconds. You can work through, let me know when you're done with identifying right now your three success rituals and three failure rituals. Is there any difference? Is there any
same with
difference?
what I do, and that leads to what I do consistently that leads to success, and what I do consistently that leads to failure.
Great question. Yes. So, what do you do that helps you be successful? And then on the failure rituals, what are the things that you do, if anything, differently when times are tough? Like when you're just not playing like yourself, what are the things that you do? And you may not have three of each right now. That's the purpose of this. Let's see what you currently have. So I'll give you 60 seconds to kind of think about it. You can let me know when you're complete, when that task is done, and we can give an opportunity to kind of walk through it.
I'm honestly not really sure. I know for the success, I just kind of keep going. I get that feeling inside like I'm on fire, but then I don't really do anything physically, any physical rituals really. And then for failure, kind of the same thing. I kind of keep it all inside. Like Chris Palmer said, I feel mentally like I feel like, oh, the first goal's gone, and I'm not. It's like not the end of the world. And then by the third, you're starting to panic. But like physically, I don't really show any of those emotions. Don't know if that like answers it,
Yeah,
kind of.
that's okay. No, good. Well, we'll walk through that, and we'll after we're done recording the portion of the recording, we'll talk. We'll go through some individual avenues for you in particular. At the end, we'll pull this back up. So that'll be a good game plan. Now you have some time to think about this, maybe learn a few things from what you see here, and then we'll circle back on it. Okay, so here's what would be considered if you want to set yourself up for success. What are the things that occur? One of the biggest things is the visualization. So if you look on the top left portion, a lot of that is envisioning yourself having success and then talking to yourself in the affirmative. So I wrote, I will find the puck through traffic. You're telling your mind, you're telling your brain, I will compete hard on rebounds. I will control all pucks. I will play big on top of the crease. These are some of the phrases I would say to myself over and over and over, and they're in the affirmative. That means like I am doing it. I will do it. And you're telling your brain you will do it. So these are some pre-performance avenues that are going to be consistent regardless of what your last game result was. And next layer down, it's focus on that overall process. So concentrate on the execution, not the results. And that means you might be on a 10-game winning streak. You should go through the same routine, same process for game preparation, regardless of what your previous results were. And then on the other side of it, you might just be not being able to buy a win, 5-game losing streak. And then all of a sudden, if you start stressing so much about, I need to win, I have to win, I need to win, I have to win, you're not really focusing on the process. You're just focusing on the result, which then obviously can compile your mentality. It kind of convolutes your mentality and your clearness of what you need to do to get that win. So especially when dealing with failure, but also when you're having success, some athletes, some goalies kind of get away from what made them get that success. Could be a goalie who always took, warm ups really serious and always needed a real good sweat, needed to do things for the game. And then that goalie might just kind of stop performing those things. He might kind of just be loosey goosey and talking to teammates and, playing the soccer, sewer ball, as opposed to doing his stretch if he never did that before, just kind of changing your pace. So stay on the process regardless of the previous results, and that'll help you build that stability and consistency what I chatted about earlier. And then on the nutrition end of it, this is part of the equation. You have to fuel for the optimal performance for the game time. Whether it's an early morning game, many of the youth players have early morning games. We have to make sure you're up, water, get some fluids in you, good breakfast, oatmeal and eggs before a game, get it in your body enough times. You're not just feeling heavy out there. So sometimes you have to wake up earlier than you want in order to be fueled for an early morning game. Or those back to back, you guys get 2 games in a day, still really refueling after that first game in order to be refueled both with food and hydration. So sometimes that's a little guess and check with how your body feels. Some athletes like to eat a lot right before they go out. Others might need 3-4 hours. And really the key is to just be aware on what makes you perform your best. There was times I like to feel kind of really full going to the rink because I knew I was going to exert so much energy, but sometimes then you feel too full, you can't really move. So you got to kind of manage that. And then of course, we're going to go into a whole pregame preparation talk, maybe in more detail on what a day-to-day looks like. But this is part of that equation is just getting your warm up, taking care of your equipment, especially that's what we mean by sometimes being too loosey-goosey. Like if you're on a 5 or 6 game winning streak, you might just get there, not really check your equipment anymore, not really tape your stick or check if it's cracked or check your skate laces. And then you're going to get dressed and your stick's broken, your skate lace breaks right before you go on for warm up, your strap's broken on your pads. and then you're causing yourself chaos. So a lot of this is just sticking with that same process of making sure you're going to demand success regardless of where your previous results have been. And then that's where that word anchoring comes in. You're just building confidence through the repetition. And for me, and for many athletes, you can think of many things that make you good, but I'll have you, and again, you can share these at the end of your call, three key elements that will lead to your success. So as you think through those, jot those down since you have a moment. But what I would use for mine, just to give you an example, is if I was focusing on three things going into a game, it's going to be I'm going to play with my quickness, I'm going to battle through traffic, and I'm going to control all pucks that come my way. If I do those three things, I'm going to give myself a chance to play up to my full potential, give my team a chance to win. So we'll review that in game preparation, but that's one of the keys to the success rituals. What are those things that make you good? And what can you keep doing when you have success? Now we'll discuss what can you do when you have some failure, when you lose a game, you play poorly, your team played really well, but you let up 6 goals on 12 shots and your team lost 6-5, right? What can you do? So first off, you might have gone through that whole process of the success ritual, but it didn't pan out. And that's what's going to happen. It's not always going to go your way. So identify the couple things that need to improve. What was, if any, the glaring fact of the game or string of games that has not led you to success? Is it that you just didn't fight through traffic well enough, or you had bad gap on rush plays, or you just got beat clean to the blocker side 3-4 times in a row? Like, what is it, and dig that granular, that negatively impacted the result? And that's where becoming a student of the game, a student of your own game, is a key element of this. Then, got to make sure you establish those and then work to move on. You know, you can be up all night dreaming about that bad goal, and many times you will be, but it's a skill to corral that information in, understand what didn't go well, and then somehow find something that gets your mind to reset. So it could be breath work, could be going for a walk, could be as simple as distracting yourself with friends and family, another activity, you know, before you go to bed, kind of watching a funny show or something to kind of get your mind off of those elements. And then you wake up the next day, it's time to go back to work or time to practice or time to execute again in another game. That's when you're going to get your mind reframed back into that. Okay. And then the other thing that can happen, number 3 there, I'm not sure why that isn't showing, but number 3 is there's many times as a goalie, it's easy to blame that defenseman was on for 4 goals out of 5. Oh, that terrible turnover right in front of my net. Or I can't believe it hit off his shin pad and went in. Right? It's easy to blame people and then say, that's why I let up the 5 or 6 goals. It wasn't me. But work to reframe that. Work to have that as, okay, now what can I do in order to try to find a way? Right? And maybe it's something subtle. Maybe it's just one of those goals where it's just one of those as a goalie. You're just like, hey, I was in perfect position. The puck was going 6 feet wide. Did everything I could. And it was just a bad bounce. Sometimes that's going to be your conclusion. But many times you start to look at that as an opportunity. Like, what else can I do? You know, is it a communication thing? Is it a trust thing? Is it, hey, practice just more screens in practice settings so I can come to the conclusion I can stop anything? So start to shift your mind from the blame and feeling sorry for myself to what can I continue to do to get better when it's time to get back at it. And then put that in your mind. Go back to your visualization, rehearse it, find yourself executing, and then work on those positive things. It's always best to reset on the positive aspects that have occurred. Take your small wins. Take your small wins. If you had a real bad game, think about the 4 or 5 saves where you really controlled the puck and you really kept your eye on it all the way through. Okay? So that's really some examples of each, longer description on the examples to get your brain buzzing. So let's just look at them again as comparatives. Success rituals are meant to prime the body and mind, get you buzzing on all cylinders. reinforce that consistency. Okay, provide a stable environment for your team, and your coach will want to play you. They want to have that consistency in net. They don't want to have that roller coaster ride of, oh no, I don't know what this goalie's getting into tonight. Is he going to be hot or cold? And that'll boost your confidence. It'll boost the team's confidence. It'll boost your team's results. And then the failure, if you do all those things, it doesn't go well. You got to reset her emotionally. Take the emotion out of it. You should have some sense of emotional state when you lose, meaning like you should care. It should affect you that I didn't win. If you don't have any emotion into it, you don't care enough about what you're working towards. So there should be an emotional feeling and letdown. And then you got to reset after that. You got to look at the facts of the situation. Okay, take those wins and then take the things that didn't go well, extract those lessons, meaning like, let's look at it all. What can we take out of it? What do I need to improve? Take your mind off it and then work to get back at it and show that you're resilient and you will battle through the ups and downs. Because however long you play in that, you're always going to have these ups and downs. There's always going to be moments of glory and moments of failure. Okay, so just seeing it another way, short-term memory. Okay, having a good self-awareness, what your real peak is, and did you have your best tonight, but then being able to bounce back with confidence because you're not dwelling on that one bad game for 3 weeks and it's still affecting you. If you let up 6 one night, come back the next opportunity and play your best. You never know. Maybe you'll get a shutout or maybe you'll get back under that 2 goals or less, making yourself feel good. So the NHL goalies, you watch goalies at the highest level, they have, if you watch games on TV, you'll see the reset, right? You'll see every time you let up a goal, it's a sort of failure. You'll see the water, you'll see them take the mask up, skate to the corner, get that reset when the goal against is scored. And then I look at other sports. It could be Olympians, could be other sports. Some athletes use a journal. They kind of take note what they did during the day or during the race that led to success. And then they can kind of evaluate both good and bad examples. Like, and they start to notice, oh, I didn't have the best warm-up times on the track when I lost. Maybe I got to improve my warm-ups. That's an example. But there's many sports that athletes go into and they lose more than they win. Like a golfer, there could be 100 golfers entering the weekend tournament. Only one is a winner. Only one gets first place. So they have to reset quickly with constant failure, and they're chasing that success, but they can't get it all the time. Tennis, same thing. You go into a grand slam, could be 60 some tennis players. There's only one winner. So everyone else is a loser of that tournament. And then track and field, same thing. There's a first place winner, 7 losers in every race. So that's the element where there's other sports that fail more often. And then we want to keep using that. How do we apply that to goaltending? I put that as kind of like a goal against as a little short-term failure. What do you do every time to keep rebuilding that confidence? So a couple more little slides and then we'll talk with some personal stories and examples. First off, build your own system. We can call it ritual, routine, whichever word you want to use. But look to identify one pre-performance and one post-performance failure that will impact you. Okay. Then look at what you do and how it's been impacting your performance. So wins and losses or goals against in a game are metrics for goalies. And you'll start to see, oh, well, I didn't have a good hard warm up where I was sweating really profusely. And, then that led me to lose. So then now you got to get a really hard warm up. Maybe that'll be a trick for you. That became one of my tricks, working out, getting a hard warm up, get the body going, and that helped me get more success. And then again, keep it simple. Sometimes you just start to get too many things that are in your head, and then you got to time everything perfectly. We'll talk more about that in pregame preparation, but keep it simple where you're kind of building that level-headedness of confidence going in, and then adjust as you climb levels. There's always an adjustment. So if you end up getting to the junior hockey level, now you'll start to have pregame skates and pregame naps and team meals and travel before games, 2, 3, 4 hours sometimes. So that has to align differently with what you used to do as a youth player. Or maybe you're on a tournament weekend and there's 5 games on the weekend. You got to readjust some things. So work to balance that out, but still keeping some of the core things, the core things. Okay. So for me, success is all about those little small daily habits. But on a game day in particular, or in a season in particular, what are you doing when it's times are good? And what are you doing when times are bad? No one should be able to tell the difference with what your record is if they saw you on any sporadic game day. They should see the same process, same flow, same success rituals, same kind of cool down coming off of it, evaluate the results, and then prepare with a purpose. And then if you do get beat, that last phrase, reset with resilience. Acknowledge it, take the emotion out, establish what needs to improve, and then work to improve. So that's our success and failure rituals discussion. Now, for the sake of recording and working through specifics with goaltenders, we'll stop the share and recording, and then we'll work through those individually.
All right.